chat.
Yeah, make sure to see if I didn't forget.
14. $17 people, 17 in the lobby. Looks good to me. Alrighty folks, if you're watching on my channel, we are having some technical difficulties on Peacon's side, but we are here for Sprint. Oh, already. Well, hello folks. We're here for Sprint Round 3 in the World Endurance Championship. Currently on track is GTE, and the storyline here is, can anyone beat the Ford's domination? They're currently undefeated in the season with Warrior, who is now currently on my stream, coming through turn 3. Warrior has won every race except for the first race at Circuit of the Americas, where his teammate won and he finished second. They look awfully strong here today in the pre-race warm-up lobby that we had up about an hour ago. They were looking very strong, able to go a lot deeper on the brakes than most of the other competitors, especially the Ferraris. Another storyline is Snipper Pig, who unfortunately was very busy this week and did not have much time to test. As a result, he only had about two and a half hours of testing and accidentally tested in the wrong conditions. He set the car up for a lot colder than what it is, as the track is currently 124 degrees Fahrenheit track temp, so possibly going off of his teammate's setup. Dale is looking to work his way back up into a championship fight, as he is 2 Corvettes are trailing behind the Fords, still within shot of a championship. As just a reminder, the sprint round is single points, the endurance rounds are double points, and the crown jewels of this championship, the 3 hours at Daytona and the 4 hours of Le Mans, are quadruple points. So 25 points on the table for a win here, as Dale runs wide out of turn 1 and slams to the inside, has to reset. So you can see these drivers are already pushing. Once again, ignore my entry in the race, Dylan 4243, as I am in here to get a different vantage point from Peacock.
And the reason why we are doing that is because when you go into the broadcast mode, when you go into race director mode, and Dylan is in broadcast mode, he doesn't have the option to change his side, to change his point of view. So that's why both of us are going to be able to follow everything in case if I miss anything or if Dylan miss anything. We are both here to make sure that we can, you know, all be here. And then if Jonathan M. Liddell wants to, he can share this live stream to the WEC chat if anybody wants to watch. I will share this into the UDL F1 chat if anybody wants to watch. As this is Road America, folks. This is a great track for racing. Maybe one of the best United States road courses by far, I would have to say. Like, this track is maybe the best U.S. road course.
As it is called America's Nürburgring, as it is one of the most historic and longest tracks in America, as it tops in over 4 miles long. As the first times are starting to come in, we expect to see pole time down near the 203s, high 203s, low 204s, as Warrior comes across the line, and he will be the benchmark and already into the high 203s.
With a 203.7. Very fast and blistering lap from the current points leader of the GTE series. We got another driver who looks like he's coming down the front stretch. I want to see who that is. It's Dale the Whale. Has a lot of damage on that car.
Yeah, that was from his earlier incident. He is currently on an outlap, which is why his time did not submit. His at the beginning of his flare, right here, he went all four off onto the curb, got the left rear hooked on the edge of the curb, and it sent the car straight into the wall. Unfortunate for him, but he will be able to bounce back.
Right now we are on the current F1 points leader in the UDL league. Snipper Pig just set in a time with a 206.0. 2 seconds off the pace, off of Warrior. You have to think that he didn't get in very much time this whole entire week. Not only that, he didn't practice on the correct settings. How detrimental is that going to be for his race today? And you would have to think very huge. Like, it's going to have a big impact on his time.
Indeed, this is a well-known course. It's easy to get up to a relative pace, which he's already at, within 3 seconds of the leader, almost within 2 seconds, as he's up by almost half a second on his time in the first sector alone. However, it's a hard course to master, especially over the course of an entire run, as these curbs are very easy to get caught out on.
It's almost like driving on ice when you hit those curves. And I have driven in IndyCar on this track, and whenever you hit those curves, it will send you for a ride, and it just feels like ice anytime that you drive on it.
Indeed. And Warrior just crossed the line, improved by 421 thousandths of a second. 421 thousandths of a second, and he may get down into the twos if he gets a perfect lap here. Coming up towards the final laps, each driver will be able to finish the lap they are currently on.
Dale sets a 204.3. Dale sets a 204.3 on his lap. I don't know if Stallard is going to be able to have enough time, so I think Stallard is good with his time with a 205.3. Let's see how
Nipper should jump up to fourth here. And indeed he does. He improves by over a second. So, showing that he needs a couple laps just to get warmed up to the track again, as, again, he does not have much testing, as UDL has been busy with Indy 500 testing, F1, and WEC, along with some other fun series.
Like the Formula C series, we had a few UDL drivers do a Nürburgring 24-hour GT3 race the other day, which the race was won by Texas Time, who won that race. The current LMP1, actually no, currently second place in the LMP1 class. He's only down by 4 points, I believe, to Daniel.
Daniel, last round at Fuji, has taken the lead for LMP1 in the championship over Texas. But the gap is indeed 4 points, so pretty much whoever wins this race, if Texas, really whoever finishes ahead of the other, will have the lead coming out of the championship, as the points gaps, unless if they finish 5th and 6th, the points gaps are over 4 points from a position to position. Warrior not able to improve on his penultimate lap as there are 5 seconds remaining in qualifying. Dale improves massively, almost 3/4 of a second on his penultimate lap. They will both get one more lap, however, the rest of the field will not, as Snipper comes to the checkered flag for GTE, as the LMP2 cars head out for their 10 minutes of qualifying. Let's see what Snipper can do. He improves, but not enough. He is
hefty bag,
5/100ths. he's under 6/100ths of a second behind Hefty. Though the Ferraris will start third and fifth, with Cuddly Koala not having the qualifying session he wanted. He will be starting shotgun on the field as the battle is still up for pole position. Warrior is up on his time, and I believe Dale is too. We'll see what their Sector 2 splits are as they come through the high-speed kink. Warrior is able to take it flat. Very sketchy corner, especially on used tires. Warrior is up by a 10th.
Oh, yes.
As we switch back to Dale heading through the never-ending carousel here at Road America onto the back straight. Through the kink, we'll see if he can stay flat. He does stay flat. Runs right out, almost onto the curb. Very tricky if you touch the curb. He's up by 2/10, though. He needs to find a 10th on Warrior in the final sector here if he wants any shot at the pole, as Warrior is up by a 10th. And
just sets a new
Warrior found another 2/10
with a 2:03.0. Let's see if Dale can close in on that gap. Was he up on his time at
He was up by 2/10, but he needs to find another 3/10 in this final sector if he wants any chance at getting pole position.
Can he do it?
21/1000ths of a second is all
amazing.
that's in it, folks.
That was
so both Corvettes
amazing.
losing out by a blink of an eye on positions. They will both start on the outside of the first two rows, with your GTE qualifying being Warrior on pole, undefeated.
And ever since then, ever since the COTA race, the first sprint race of the year, Warrior has just turned it on and has been dominant ever since we have gotten started here. And he won the endurance race at Great Britain. He won the sprint race at Zhuhai. He won the endurance race at Fuji. So let's see if he can go and make it 4 in a row for him today, as he has been the driver. He has been the class of the field in the GTE series, so it'll definitely be one to watch. Storyline out of the LMP2, Cone Dodger didn't race the last race in the endurance in Japan, but he didn't want to take an advantage off of his good old buddy, his current competitor, Intersport. The thing is, though, is that Intersport is now driving a different car than what he was normally driving. He also was out of town. He missed a lot of time. Just got back yesterday, and he hasn't had a lot of practice with the car or the track. So you have to think that that might play into effect with his pace today.
Indeed. He has switched from his original car, thinking that it was a little bit down on power and fuel economy, just couldn't make it work, and took a 10-point championship hit in order to switch cars and become more competitive, as he's currently just over half a second off of Cone. Unfortunately, Thordo has not been able to make it this week, as we are down to 3 cars in LMP2 for this race.
Right now we're following Big R here, as he's going to try and be able to set his time. Cone Dodger currently sits on pole for the LMP2 race with a 153.8. Let's see what Big R can do here. Ooh, kind of gets loose. He runs into the grass, becomes a lawnmower there, does not get a good exit out of that corner.
Cone is... Wow, folks. This is going to be a hell of a fight in the first 2 positions for LMP2. Watching them come across the first sector split, Cone has improved on his fastest lap by 2/100ths of a second. Intersport through the first sector is up on his fastest lap by 1/1000th of a second. So Consistency is very key here, and Cone in the number 83 car is up by 83 one-thousandths of a second at the end of the second split. He runs wide out of Canada corner though, however, so that will cost him a tenth or two. Meanwhile, Intersport has been able to find some more time. He's almost 3/10 up on his lap. If he can find another 2/10 through this final sector, he could get pole away from Cone.
He does not
improve due to his mistake at Canada corner. Intersport has a clean exit to the final corner, heading up the hill, down the long front straight, and improves, but not enough. He's still looking for a final 2/10 as Cone has a little wiggle coming out of turn 3 onto the middle straight, so to speak, underneath the Sargento Bridge for turn 4, coming down another long straight. It's a difficult balance here, especially for the P2 cars. They don't have the power of their LMP1 counterparts to push them through the air, so it's a difficult balance to find what downforce they need, as Cone's up by 2/10 of a second at the end of the first split.
Very good lap right here from Cone. His last lap, he was 4/10 slower than his provisional pole lap, but right now he is currently sitting in a good spot to improve on that time. Maybe the car change was all Intersport needed, and with him not having a lot of time to practice, he's showing really great pace in that car, and you can only imagine what could have gone on if he actually got way more time.
Indeed, both drivers improved by almost exactly 2/10 in the first sector. However, Cone lost the time he gained in the second sector. If Intersport can keep this lap together, he could very well take pole away from Cone, as he found another 10th in the second sector. So Cone is struggling to find more speed in this car as he goes off, gets stuck on the curb. Again, these curbs are treacherous here at Road America. That'll be a storyline we talk about throughout the race, as he will not improve this lap. In fact, he's half a second down on his best lap. We'll see what Jeff can do. He keeps it tidy through the final corner.
I think
this is pole. I think this could be pole lap, as they both only have one lap remaining. And Intersport goes way to the pole. And Cone has lost it on his final lap. Spinning, carried too much speed through turn 3 at the bottom of the hill, and he had lost the back end. It'll be close back, whether or not he can get another lap.
It's going to be really, really close if he can get back there in time to get another lap in, because this whole entire lap is shot. So this is not the lap to really get anything done.
Does he have enough fuel? He's down to 5 liters here. This is definitely Intersport's last lap. Regardless on how he does, Intersport will not get another lap as the LMP1 cars get ready to come out and do their 10-minute qualifying session. So, Cone is taking it easy, making sure the tires cool down a little bit. He's pretty confident he must have enough time, considering he's not pushing it. Might be saving a little bit of fuel to make sure that he can get another lap out.
I think he can. From where I'm sitting and from how much time is left, it looks like he might.
It'll be close.
It'll be dangerously close.
Meanwhile, Jeff on his final lap is a 10th down coming into the final sector on his run down to Canada corner. Deep on the brakes, loses the back end, keeps it together though. That may well put a comeuppance to Jeff's
Cone
qualifying
Dodger will
run.
get one more chance. Cone Dodger is going to get one more chance to do a lap.
Jeff might be able.
I think he will. Let's see.
It'll be close. And he will, as he crosses the line with 3 seconds left. So, my apologies, folks, for me calling Jeff's Intersport's qualifying a little bit early, as they're both on their final laps, as LMP1 heads out onto track to start their 10-minute qualifying session. Flying laps do count, which is why Cone and Intersport both will be able to finish their lap, although Intersport has abandoned it. So Intersport saying that's all he can get out of the car.
Well, from what I saw, he also had a spin out and caught into the grass and thought, yep, I already have my lap down. I might as well just go back into the pit. But Cone Dodger right here, gotta say I'm very impressed with Intersport's pace after not having a lot of time. But when I did get a chance, ooh, and Cone Dodger loses it and goes into the grass.
And that will be the LMP2 qualifying session over. So on pole in LMP2, Intersport over half a second above Cone. Now, admittedly, Cone has time out there. If you take his best time from each sector, he would be within 2/10 of Intersport. So Cone has to be a little bit upset with himself for not being able to put the lap together. Only a 75-minute race today, so there's not that much time. Definitely a one-stop race in GTE. It'll be close to see whether it's a one or two-stop race in LMP1. Speaking of LMP1, those cars are already out in heat, as Damage will be the first car to take the green flag for LMP1 qualifying.
Followed by his teammate Jonathan as well.
The Audi is looking to trying to desperately to kickstart their championship hopes. They're confident on the quadruple point races, which are going to be huge for the championship standings and the championship itself. Good points there will definitely help them come back in the championship, but if they can start now before we get to those crown jewel events, they would love to walk away with a double podium finish here.
Now, there is some word that I was hearing about how much the temps are going to change from the start of the race to the end of the race. How important is it in this race of when those temps change, and how much does it have an effect on the tires?
Depending on what the strategy is, what the GTE cars can do about 40 to 45 minutes. So considering it's going to cool off throughout the event, they may do their first stint on hards. Most of the drivers prefer hards. However, if it gets cold enough in GTE, they could switch to softs. In the two prototype classes, softs are the preferred tire. However, with the track temp at 124, they may have to do hards for their first stints, and then their second, and then if they pit 2 times and they do a 3-stint strategy here, I could definitely see them putting on softs for the final stint. So we'll have to see what they do, as the prototypes, both LMP1 and LMP2, are right on the edge of a 1 or 2 stop strategy. So it'll be close to see what they do.
Damage
75-minute race.
Damage is now coming up to set the first lap of the session. He sets a 144.3. He goes back into the pit. John currently coming down the hill. He sets a 144.4. We now go to Daniel, who is finishing up his lap. What can he set here? Can he improve? He does. He goes straight to pole with a 142.8. We now go to Spidey in the Audi. What does in the Porsche? What can Audi do here? What can he do? Spidey sets a 145.2 Texas time. He sets a 143.3.
Yeah, Texas has more time in that car, though. Its driver comes up to finish his first flying lap, and he is only able to do a 47.3. Texas did run a little bit wide. He definitely dropped a couple wheels coming out of that last corner, so he has more time in it. Interesting to see that the Audis and Texas are doing one-lap flyers, to where the Toyotas are letting their tires warm up for a couple laps and putting more fuel in the car, giving themselves more laps, but it takes them a little bit longer to get the car as light as possible.
So I have to ask you, Dylan, with everything going on and how busy the month is, considering with so many drivers involved in so many other series, will that have an effect on the way? Because you have Damage, Intersport, Cone Dodger, Warrior, Dale, and Snapper Pig all doing the Indy 500 soon. They also have the Nürburgring that they are getting ready for. And then you also have Pig, who is currently trying to keep his F1 points lead. So how much does that have an effect on all of these drivers? And knowing that such a big event, two really big events are coming up as the 500 and the Nürburgring race is coming up.
I would have to imagine that, especially the Indy 500, with the $175 prize pool for the podium positions, that has to be taking at least some focus away from the drivers running in that event, as bump day is next week, so a lot of them getting their cars fine-tuned for that qualifying and race. So, being a sprint race, only single points, I could definitely see them focusing on the 500 more than this event per se.
Spidey right now, I think, is the only one out of this lineup. Oh no, he is on an outlap his own self. So I think we're going to go to Jonathan here, who has not gone out of the pits. I believe that is Texas time that is now starting his hot lap.
Indeed it is.
And I think John and Daniel are currently the only ones who are setting a lap. John is currently up 1.3 seconds on his lap, so that would be good enough as it stands right now for a P2.
Yeah, but Daniel's also up a couple tenths on his lap, so definitely not looking like a pole lap for John right now, as John did not have the cleanest Canada corner. Daniel bobbles the curb coming out of the final corner. We'll see what John can do. John does go to P2. Meanwhile, Daniel does not improve his pole time.
Just misses out. Let's see what Damage can do here. Damage does not improve on his time, but he goes back into the pits. They've got to come out now if they want any chance of improving on their time. We're going to go to Driver here as he is on a outlap. Driver, what has been going on with him? It seems like that he has been having a lot of struggles with the LMP1 car.
One of the biggest difficulties with this LMP1 car, as Texas, sorry to change the subject, but Texas is on for a pole lap. He's 6 tenths up, and by the end of the second sector, coming through Canada corner, keeps it nice and tight through the penultimate corner, keeps it off the curb, nice and wide entrance through the last corner. Again, right out to the curb, but not touching it, so this should be a pole lap for Texas. And one thing that Texas and Dan and John all have mastered, which is crucial here at Road America, is hybrid deployment. Hybrid deployment is at the utmost importance here with such long straights.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but Texas time did take pole time with a 142.3. So Texas right now currently on pole, as this will be a big advantage. Spidey improves on his time. He gets up to a 143.3. So very good runs from the Porsches. Damage is heavily into the wall. Damage got into the wall. He spun out. I don't know if he's going to have enough time to set a lap.
He will not. That is Damage's qualifying session over. He will start best 5th. As Driver is up almost a second on his time. That won't be enough to improve his position, as the two drivers in front of him are on outlaps. Damage comes out, but he will not have enough time to complete a flying lap. Hopefully he does not interfere with Dan, or I would definitely imagine he does not interfere with his teammate on their final flying laps. Texas also staying in the pits, so Texas will only do a 42.3. I say only. That is a flying lap around here. And again, another big thing about this race, with such long straights and such high-speed corners like the carousel and the kink in the middle sector, lap traffic is going to be a tremendous factor in this event.
And you can just see how narrow that this track is. It's going to be so tough to pass when the LMP1 cars get close on the LMP2s and the GTE cars. And we have seen throughout this whole entire year of how much of a huge effect that trying to navigate through traffic can be.
Daniel and John are both about they're within a tenth either way of their fastest lap. Driver has retired from the session as he lost it coming out of turn 5 at the bottom of the hill at the end of the middle straight. Daniel is up on his time, but not nearly enough to get pole. They both need 4/10 to improve their position, and neither of them are that far ahead so far.
Daniel almost loses the back end of his car coming out of that corner. So that might have a huge effect on his time. It might cost him any chance that he has to improve. As here he comes down the hill, he does not improve on his time. John will be the final driver to complete. Oh, and he spins it right on top of the hill. John spins out right on top of the hill. Very weird accident.
As that. I hate to say it, folks, but that would likely be lethal in real life. Not sure what happened, as that puts an end to qualifying. Very weird what happened. I wonder, damage came out for an outlap just to get some pit entrance practice in. Wonder if John went to practice pit entrance, got on the grass, and that threw the car into the pit entrance, as the league calls it, putting the chicken in the coop.
So, we are now going to be going down the field as Texas Time sits in P1. He has taken provisional pole in this race for the LMP1 field. Daniel in P2, Jonathan in P3, Spidey in P4, Damage in P5, and Driver in P6. In the LMP2 field, we have Intersport on pole and a brand new car on very little time, but how much of that will have an effect in the race, we will find out soon. Cone Dodger in P2 and Big R in P3. We have Warrior on pole. Another pole for Warrior here in P1 in the GTE series, with Dale the Whale getting in P2, Hefty Bag in P3, Snipper Pig in P4, Stallard in P5, and the Cuddly Koala rounds out the field in P6. So I have to ask, Dylan, what are your predictions for the LMP1 race?
In LMP1, I see a tremendous duel between Texas and Dan, and I see John's. I don't see, I'll be honest, I don't see John staying in the fight, but I definitely see him being within shooting range, ready to pick up the pieces should anything happen. In LMP2, I see a fantastic race between Intersport and Cone throughout the entire event. And I see Intersport taking the win today. I think he's going to win on debut in that new car. In GTE, it's hard to go against Ford. I mean, they have dominated all season so far.
It's hard to just go against Warrior in general after the pace that he has shown, and just he has dominated the last 3 endurance races, well, the last 3 WEC races. So he's just been on top of everything and has completely taken over the whole entire series. But if we have to go with the dark horse to possibly win this race, Dale is on pace. He has shown really good pace. He's shown really good pace in quality. So maybe Dale can pull it in and finally break the Ford streak.
If I see anyone being a dark horse, honestly, Hefty. Ferrari have yet to get a breakthrough top 2, I believe. I don't have the finishes in front of me this week, but I believe that they do not have a top 2 yet. I believe their best finish is 3rd. So, I could see Ferrari looking for a good round this event tonight.
What does Big R need to do to give any type of challenge to the front runners in LMP2?
Honestly, his biggest problem so far this year is just consistency. He did qualify 9 seconds off the pace, as he did not run most of qualifying. But his big thing is just consistency. Get within a second or two of the leaders and just be able to run that pace and knock out the laps through the entire event. Oh my goodness, folks, we have breaking news. Jonathan M. Ledoux looks like he has forgotten to fill up his car with fuel after qualifying.
Wow, yes.
As damage is also low on fuel, not as low as his teammate.
Big development here, as that will be a huge hit to any chance that Jonathan might have in this race. Wow.
So Jonathan is definitely on a 2-stop strategy now, possibly 3. Should anything go wrong as the field comes up through the penultimate corner, the field forms and the LMP1 class gets ready to take the green flag for the 75 minutes of Road America.
Here we go, folks. The LMP1s are now coming through the final corner.
Field starts to accelerate a little bit, coming up the hill, wait for the green. The other 2 classes will wait until the leader starts the cross-finish line. The lights are on. We're out, and we're green in LMP1. John gets an amazing jump, has to get on the brakes, though, not wanting to make it 3 wide on this tight track.
Texas gets a good line. It looks like that we have a driver going off the track that looks like it's Spidey in the LMP1 class. Here we go, as the LMP2 class is now getting started with Intersport leading the way down the hill with Cone Dodger just right there behind him. The GTE class is now getting started with Warrior trying to hold his lead here from Dale the Whale, possibly the only guy to give him a chance.
And Texas went off in turn 5. Texas outbroke himself. Not sure if he had any assistance from Dan, as they look to be side by side in the braking zone on the timing screen. But Texas ran wide at turn 5 at the end of the second straightaway, as John runs wide in turn 7. Turn 7's a very treacherous corner. It's a right-hand kink that is very misleading. You think you can carry a lot of speed through it when you really can't. So Daniel Texas getting the jump on Daniel, but able to get the lead back. Meanwhile in GTE, Dale falling back to 3rd place. Snipper up from 4th to 2nd. So Snipper lacking the... Dale is still ahead of Snipper, my bad, but still Snipper able to get the jump on Hefty for the start.
Right now, Daniel's trying to do anything he can to pull away from Texas here at the start. He is blistering fast going down that hill.
And Stallard is already missing a right front headlight, with him and Koala hanging back behind the rest of the field. So not sure if anything happened there. See if anything is submitted post-race. Meanwhile, John is hounding Texas as they end the first lap heading onto the second. Now don't forget, John also has 48 fewer liters of fuel than Texas, so that will definitely be helping his performance.
I also have to interrupt here, but Cone Dodger was able to get out in front of Intersport and make a pass for the lead in the LMP2 class. So Cone Dodger has the lead in LMP2.
Indeed. Sorry that we missed a couple of these switches in action, folks, as Stallard has stayed out. So not wanting to make 2 pit stops this race, he feels it's better to keep the damage on and just struggle through for the rest of the race, as the battle for the lead is on in all 3 classes, as after the first lap, the lead is within 2 seconds in each class.
I'll watch this LMP2 race very closely, see if Intersport can just try and get any bit of that gap back. Two-tone dodge. And as we all know, folks, Intersport is in a brand new car. He's in a brand new car. He has not gone as much practice as his opponent has. So this will definitely be a storyline to watch for most of the race.
Meanwhile, the battle is on for third place as Hefty does a dive bomb move into turn 8. Snipper gets the cutback as they go side by side through the carousel. Very hard to make an outside pass, but it can be done as Snipper gets it done, carries the momentum around the outside. As they have to go single file through the kink. Yeah, an absolutely stellar move as Hefty looking to make sure Ferrari have a fight in this championship, as Ferrari is in a similar situation to Audi as far as championship hopes go.
John has a spin out, and he has gone all the way down to last place in LMP1. John right now currently having a lot of trouble with that car. He is now all the way down to last place in LMP1. We didn't catch the spin out there, but it looks like a disastrous start of the race for Jonathan, as he, to quote David Coulthard, how do you forget to put fuel in the car?
Indeed, sadly not the first time we've seen John make this mistake, as that pretty much puts an end to his race. He may be able to salvage a podium depending on what happens with lap traffic, but the front two in LMP1 with a decent gap, just like the championship. Dan close over Texas, and then quite a gap back to the rest of the field. Meanwhile, in GTE, it's a similar story as far as on-track action. Warrior has a margin over Dale. He's not having to defend at the moment, but I wouldn't say it's a comfortable margin, as Dale is within a couple seconds of Warrior. Should Warrior make a mistake, Dale will be right there. And it's a 3-car battle for third place, as Koala has caught back up to Hefty and Snipper.
Let me just say, hoping for a mistake from a driver like Warrior is almost asking for the impossible to happen. He is a driver that doesn't make very many, if at all, any type of mistake when he drives, and driver goes off the track, driver spins out and hits the wall there. So he, not a great start from driver, as he's been having a tough year in the LMP1 field.
Yeah, not the season he's been looking for so far. As Dale is flashing his lights down the front straight towards the braking zone here, as he's trying to force Warrior into a mistake. Still within the draft, so actually still within a second of Warrior, but not able to close in as the front, as we're only 5 leaders just completed the 4th lap, and we're already into lap traffic, folks. So lap traffic is going to be huge as we hop on board with driver. Oh, and Stallard goes to get out of the way of out of the way of Dan, and forces him off the track. As you can see, as we go on board with Texas as well, the GTE cars look like they're standing still. They aren't. These are full-on race cars in GTE. However, due to the just sheer pace and downforce of these LMP1 cars, it's an absolutely huge time difference, as Koala has gotten past Hefty in traffic. as they go almost 3 wide into the carousel.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Wow.
Hefty trying to use the LMP1 cars as a pick. That's exactly what you have to do. As, Snipper holds on for dear life. And Snipper runs wide. That's what the... Oh my goodness. Folks, this is what we're talking about. This track is not wide enough for LMP1 drivers to be making these desperate moves that they are. As the GTE cars are just trying to hold on to dear life through these corners. They're right on the edge of some of them.
And unfortunately for Bag, he lost the place to the cunningly Koala there. And speaking about Koala, he hasn't been having all that great of a qualifying session, but he's been really good at making up those spots back by just hanging around, letting them make any mistake. Texas misses
and Texas is off in turn 1.
Oh boy, this is going to get dicey here. This is going to get dicey as I think that's Driver in front of him.
I believe it is. John has pitted for fuel as Driver comes out almost a lap down due to his damage. And again, folks, you can see all 4 of the cars flashing their lights as side by side for the lead in LMP1. Texas goes around the outside into turn 5, overcooks it, and so does Warrior. Warrior overcooks it, and
now Dale has a chance.
Classes.
Wow, the mistake that Dale might have been needing, and it looks like there's a car that is Big R there in the LMP2 class off on the track. And Dale, he goes wide, goes into the grass, not what he was needing at all. This is WEC sprint racing, folks. This is
and while the battle for the lead was going on in LMP1 and GTE, Spidey has gotten around damage using possibly using Snipper as a pick. So there are battles happening everywhere around this course. 3 classes at the same time. We haven't been keeping an eye on LMP2. It's still neck and neck as Intersport is within about 2.5 seconds, not as close as LMP1 or GTE, but still a very close battle. Once the LMP1 cars catch up to LMP2, it'll definitely be close as the top 2 have gotten around Driver. Meanwhile, the LMP1, the battle for third, is passing the battle between Koala and Snipper, and Koala's gotten past Snipper.
Koala has now gone past...
Oh, no, my bad.
No.
That's Warrior. That's Warrior and Dale.
Bag has gone around Koala. So yeah. Bag has gone his key for Bag.
Sorry, I'm getting a little confused with sister cars. Oh, and Texas is off in turn 5. He outbroke himself, comes back right on in front of Driver. That was definitely an unsafe re-entry. That might give him a warning with the stewards after the race is over for that. But Dan now has a comfortable 6-second lead over Texas after Texas pushing too hard to keep up with Dan. And meanwhile, damage is off in turn 6. There's something happening everywhere you look. So
it's almost hard to keep up with how much that there is going on in this sprint race. And just like we have already seen, the traffic management is going to play a huge role in this race, and it already has.
Definitely already has. You can see it playing out in real time as Big Art makes it back to the pits after his incident. Meanwhile, Texas now. Driver could very well play shotgun on the field, though, as he could play a team play. I hope he doesn't, as that is not
he was given the blue flag last time.
So the blue flag has been given. Should Texas make a move, Driver does have to yield to Texas, but if Texas is happy to stay behind, that is Texas's prerogative, as Texas now dives to the outside of turn 4. It's a slight kink in that straightaway. And driver does make it easy for Texas.
Right now, Dale is still staying on the back of Warrior for the battle of the GTE class. This is for the lead. Dale just wants to finally break that winning streak that Warrior has.
Indeed. Meanwhile, the battle for third, Hefty just set his fastest lap of the race so far, and he's closing in on Snipper. So again, we got, while the battle for the lead in LMP1 has dropped off with Texas running wide, we got two battles in GTE, another battle in LMP1 for third, as that's up to 5 seconds now between Spidey and Damage, and it's about 3 seconds between Cone and Intersport as we are approaching the 15-minute mark. So already almost a fifth of the way through this event.
We are now approaching the 1 hour mark left of this sprint race. Dale the Whale still holding on to the back end of that Ford of Warrior. Texas needing any type of mistake from Daniel and all to get him back into this race. So that's definitely going to see, as it does look like, I think that's Daniel. No, I think that's the LMP.
That is driver again. Driver has another mistake coming out of the final corner. As folks on my stream, we're going to go through an entire lap on board with Dale and talk you through a lap around this course in a GTE car as he looks for a way past Warrior, coming out of the last corner, take a wide entry, get right to the curb, want to drift out to the curb without touching the white part. As Dale does that, up the hill, set up for a long, long front straight. Make sure you stay in the draft of Warrior. Turn 1 is a fast right-hand corner here, flat. Of course, welcomes you to go faster as Dale uses all of the curbing on the exit. It does get a little bit tight there on the exit through the kink of turn 2 down to turn 3. Another corner that's very inviting but tightens up on the exit. Time for the second long straight here as we head under the Sargento Bridge for turn 4. You can see Warrior has the legs a little bit. The Ford is also very good under braking. Corvette has the turning capabilities over the Ford, although Dale does close in on their braking for turn 5. Careful not to get the power down and lose the back end on the curbing. Up through Corvette corner, turn 6, very tricky corner. Off camber, car slides out on you, tricky turn 7. It invites you to go faster as Dale runs a little bit wide down into turn 8, down to a second gear corner. And now under the Speedville Bridge for turn 10, the carousel. Long, long, long right-hand corner. Front end wants to wash out when you're this close to the car ahead. Fourth gear, float the throttle. Looking for a way past the kink. Tries to do it. Front end pushes out. You can see him struggle to get it turned in. Down into Canada corner. Going from 5th, maybe 6th gear, all the way down to 2nd gear, low 2nd. Be careful not to run wide through here. Dale looking for the undercut, not able to get it done. Past where the old is to be, almost a flat-out corner. Difficult to be flat out through there in dirty air and back into the final corner. And that is a lap around Road America as John flies past these two drivers trying to catch back up.
Also, while all of that was going on, while we were getting a brilliant track guide from our Dylan 4243, Big R has retired from the race. So Big R, a disappointing start to his race in LMP2. It has not been a good year for him, as he was already going off the track, and Big R has retired from the session.
Meanwhile, the LMP1 leaders have finally caught the LMP2 field, now down to just 2 cars. Daniel making an outside move around Cone on the final corner. Again, you could see that the LMP2 car on the inside could keep up with the LMP1 car running on the compromised line, but once they got to that straight, the LMP1 car just pulled away with the hybrid system, as you see that with Texas going around Intersport now. Meanwhile, in third place, it's still Spidey, as Damage has dropped another about 8 seconds back. He's dropped from 2 seconds to 10 seconds behind, so I wonder if there was another problem there that we missed. Meanwhile, John is almost half a lap behind his teammate, currently running in 4th and 5th in LMP1. Driver having a miserable race, currently running partway through the GTE field, which he has his lights off. LMP2 is still Cone over Intersport as they begin to work their way with the lap traffic. Warrior and Dale still 1-2 in GTE. Dale happy to run there, still 56 minutes remaining. Snipper now under increasing pressure from Hefty as they have the race leader coming up behind Hefty, looking for an outside pass in Canada corner, looking for the undercut.
Gotta say, Dale, hold on. Dale is now going for a move on Warrior, and he does get past Warrior. Dale got a great run coming out of the final corner and got enough speed to get around Warrior. I think this is the first time in a while that we have seen somebody else in the lead, but besides the Ford of Warrior. So right now, Dale holds the race lead in the GTE class.
Meanwhile, we almost had a change for third place as Hefty, through the penultimate corner, looking for a way. Oh, and Hefty throws it in at turn 1. Snipper going for the undercut as Texas makes it 3 wide coming through turn 2. You see Texas take to the grass. Again, this track is not wide enough to go 3 wide without someone taking to the grass. But Texas is desperate to catch back up to Daniel, and that lets Snipper do the undercut and get back past Hefty for third place as they go side by side down into turn 5. They have the LMP2 leader coming up behind them and third place in LMP2. Hefty around the outside goes deep on the brakes, able to get the move done, and Snipper looking for an undercut, not able to do it, heading up into Corvette corner. Difficult place to pass, not impossible, but difficult. Turn 7, however, not going to look for a pass here as lap traffic comes up behind them. Hefty runs wide through turn 7. Snipper not sure where to go as Spidey swerves to the right, past the Corvette, swerves to the left, past the Ferrari, compromises the Ferrari. First on corner entry, then runs wide and compromises him on corner exit as well. Meanwhile, Cone got past Snipper coming into the carousel, and Hefty has to compromise his line again to let a faster car by.
And
first runs to the inside, now to the outside.
Snipper Pig gets a great run with Intersport
2 wide through the kink,
trying to get through, and
and there's contact.
Intersport hits the back of Hefty bag. Snipper Pig going for a run. This is getting dicey,
Intersport
folks.
losing valuable time on Cone, but there's nothing he can do as Hefty dives deep into Canada corner. Meanwhile, Intersport still looking for a way past, not able to find one as he's losing heaps of time due to this battle. Finally throws it up to the inside. Last minute lunge past the Ferrari. That was a close call. Hefty, good heads up driving there. Meanwhile, Damage is now catching up to this battle.
This is costing him so much time.
And Damage, was that Damage or John? That was Damage. Lags into the wall on the front straight, so very unfortunate for him. Again, not the race out he was looking for. Still quite a ways ahead of Driver, who is back into the pits again for Damage. Very unfortunate for Driver. Meanwhile,
I think Driver has now retired from the race. Driver has now retired from the LMP1 race. So, been a very tough start of the year for Driver in the LMP1 class.
I'll tell you what, Pecan, Texas is within 3 seconds of Daniel again. So Texas going 3 wide for that move.
That lead was up like 10 seconds, and now it's all the way down to 3. Wow.
Daniel playing it conservative, not wanting to throw away his lead through traffic, able to let Texas close in over 7 seconds through the GTE field as he makes a cleaning past Stallard. So that's a battle we need to keep our eyes on as Spidey is now within 12 seconds of the leader. Damage is, I would assume, damaged, as John's still looking to recover. Intersport and Cone are now separated due to that amazing battle in GTE for third place, which still is hefty right ahead of Snipper, as they are still working with lap traffic. As, hang on, Intersport fell back behind. Intersport had a mistake and has fallen back behind Hefty and Snipper.
And now he is behind Damage as well.
As Damage slows down to let them into the pits. Warrior is into the pits. This is too early to make it to the end of the race, I think. I mean, 45 minutes is pretty safe. 50 minutes is pushing it for the GTE.
Not only that, but Dale was starting to pull away on him tremendously. Damage.
I wonder if he had damage.
Dale also pits. I mean, no, Damage has also pits. So Warrior and Damage are currently in the pits. Intersport this time finally gets around Snipper Pig and Hefty Bag in the best way that he can, but Cone Dodger has just run away in the LMP2 class. So unless he makes a mistake, Cone Dodger right now is currently in control of the LMP2 race.
Meanwhile, in GTE, folks, I never thought I would have said this 25 minutes into this race. Running order is Corvette, Ferrari, Corvette. Not a single Ford on the podium. They have yet to lose a race. And right now the highest placed car is in 4th place.
And Dale the Whale is still in the lead, but we'll definitely have to see what's going to happen once everyone pits. So we'll have to check out where everyone will cycle through once they pit. As we are still going to watch the gap here for the battle of the LMP1 class. Texas is still sitting around that 2.5 second mark. He's closing in fast. I wonder if Daniel doesn't have any traffic around him.
I wonder. Daniel could be in a fuel save mode. Texas could be going for a 2-stop strategy, flat out the entire race, with a short second stop for fuel only, no tires. Daniel could be going for a 1-stop strategy. We are approximately 12 minutes away from the halfway mark of this event. So, how much fuel does Daniel have? Daniel is down to 28 liters, so he would need to do some considerable fuel saving.
I do have to go back.
As Dale's in the pits. Our GTE leader is in the pits. So, where is Warrior? Warrior's in the penultimate corner already. This is going to be close.
Warrior. You're going to have to watch Warrior here to see can he catch up
for Dale. Dale's not moving. He moves now. He's at the far end of pit lane. He doesn't have far to go. This is going to be close, folks. Dale is off the pit speed limiter.
I think Warrior is going to get him. I think Warrior is going to get him. No!
Warrior?
He doesn't.
No. No. Dale has the lead. However, he's on cold tires. So Warrior will be right back on Dale, who needs to turn his lights back on, as, by the end of this lap, Warrior should catch back up to Dale, as your overall leader is now working his way through lap traffic yet again. As the track the track from the beginning of the race has cooled off 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Beginning track temp was 127 degrees, and it's already down to 97. And you can see, I would imagine Texas is on hards, as well as Daniel. Their right front tire is not up to temperature anymore. This is definitely a right turn heavy track with only a few high-load left hand corners.
I do have a very interesting development for the GTE race, folks, as I'm going to await Dylan to take a look at that.
As that is unfortunate, but Dale the Whale has been caught speeding in pit lane. So, unfortunately, the stewards will have to assign Dale a drive-through penalty. So, unfortunately, that will put an end to the battle for what will eventually become the lead in GTE. But the lead right now in GTE, as Hefty and Snipper have both yet to pit, is still on.
This is absolutely soul-crushing for Dale the Whale, as he was speeding in pit lane, and it's terrible, but that is going to cost his whole entire race of a chance. He was running so good here, as that will now give Warrior what I would have to think is a net P1, because Bag and Pig still are left to pit.
As the command has been handed down from race control, the 64 will have to serve a drive-through penalty, unfortunately.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have very go on though, but I will say Texas is now under a second of Daniel in the LMP1 field.
Real quick, that way we can focus on this LMP1 battle for the overall win. It'll be interesting to see where Dale comes out in respect to Hefty and Snipper. We could have a 3-car battle. Oh, and the leader has spun it coming out of the Canada corner.
Daniel has
lost it.
Daniel has spun it. Daniel has
heavy damage to the right front corner.
As Texas has now taken the lead of the LMP1 race.
Daniel immediately comes into the pits. He has to be careful not to speed.
And his right front light is currently out.
As Koala follows him in.
So Texas is now currently in the lead of the LMP1 race.
Meanwhile, Dale is staying out, so
maybe he's going to protest it?
He could protest it. We have seen drivers.
He is allowed to protest it. So as it stands, the stewards, from what they saw on the stream and on the speedometer, he was about 3 miles per hour over the pit lane. So we'll have to wait and see.
We have heard from the Fuji event that there can be a desync. So that could have happened on the official screens. We are not sure yet. As Daniel is moving again down pit lane, he will come out in fourth as John just now flies past on the front straight.
But he will have to pit again too. John is going to have to pit again. But right now, I mean, Texas is still left to pit. So Daniel just needs any type of mistake from Texas. So if Daniel can get that, he could probably get back into this race. But I think that spin out was just a little bit too much and might have cost him any chance at winning this race.
Interestingly, the track temp has gone back up 17 degrees. As it was down to 93, and it's now back up to 110 Fahrenheit. So, interesting weather that we have here as Dale ran a little bit wide in turn 8 as the battle is still on between him and Warrior. If he does protest it and he provides evidence to the officials that he did not speed coming into pit lane, that is okay, and he can undo the penalty. However, if he is guilty of the penalty, he will be assigned a drive-through post-race with possibly 5 or 10 seconds added onto that. So he has stayed out for 2 laps now, so it does not look like he's planning on serving that penalty.
So I would have to think that he probably believes that he was not speeding in pit lane, and when he made it to the pit lane marker, that there was a desync. So maybe he doesn't have a penalty, and he thinks, you know, which is fine, because just like Dylan was saying, there sometimes is a desync from what the speedometer is telling us of and where they are. So we'll have to go back and look for that so he will have to send that in after the race. So right now we're just going to go off of this, but if footage does come out after the race, then Dale will probably have to serve a time penalty for the next race.
Indeed. So we'll call the race as it goes now. The LMP1 field has unfortunately spread out quite a bit due to various spins and crashes. Although Dan is closing in on John a little bit. They are approximately 6 seconds apart. Texas still leads over Spidey in a Porsche 1-2 as it's a minute between Spidey and John for second place. Damage is just under a minute behind Dan for the battle for fourth. In LMP2, it's approximately just shy of 30 seconds between Cone and Intersport. Intersport falling back into a rhythm after being stuck behind the GTE cars. Speaking of GTE, Hefty has been able to pull out about, I'm not sure if this is accurate or not.
It's not.
No. Apologies for the timing glitch on the screen. It is not an 11-second gap, but he has been able to pull out to what looks like to be about a 1.2, 1.3 second gap, as Snipper is barely able to hold on to his draft down these long straights. Battle for third is still on between Dale the Whale and SSJ Warrior. Again, Warrior barely able to hold on to the draft. And about 30 seconds behind his teammate is Koala, as John is back into the pits. This could be early, although he will make it to the end of the event from here.
I will say that he did make the pit speed limits. He was already down to 28 miles per hour before he went in. So John doing a great job of watching where his pit speed is at,
which promotes Dan up to second. Intersport, and for his first pit stop, Intersport could be doing some fuel saves, as he's 2 minutes shy, actually not even 2 minutes, he's 90 seconds shy of the halfway mark. So due to the formation lap, if we factor in that formation lap, Intersport may be able to do a one-stop race here. Cone definitely will, as he still has 7 liters left in that open cockpit LMP2 car. The only open cockpit car in the field.
We need to go back and watch this battle between Dale and Warrior, because look at the gang of cars that are coming right behind him.
Oh my goodness,
it gets so dicey. Daniel just on a mission to try and get back into the race as best as he can, and Cone Dodger is going to go look for a pass. Cone Dodger sending a move there on Dale the Whale.
Not sure why Cone is risking it that much when Intersport is still in the pits. So Intersport waiting a long time to get a full tank of fuel as Cone stays out another lap. Smart of him to do that, as he has clean air ahead of him.
And I don't think Dale was very much a big fan of that move.
Yeah, I don't think Dale appreciated either Dan sending it up the inside or Cone. Cone really sent it up the inside as a last-minute move.
Daniel kind of got him on the straight, but Cone definitely sent one in going into the corner.
Yeah.
I don't think Dale was.
Warrior also probably did not appreciate Dan threading the needle, almost making it 3 wide into the kink.
Warrior's got a good
everyone,
run now. Warrior is getting really
definitely has
good.
a good run. can't help but wonder if Dale possibly got a little bit of aero damage if him and Cone made contact. Not sure if there was or not. Again, that could be another thing Dale submits post-race.
And the funniest thing is that in this battle right now, for the Indy 500 race, these guys are going to be on my team, teaming up. But right now, they are competitors and they are battling against each other, not only in the Constructor Series, but also in the Driver Series. As I'm sure Dale the Whale would want to do anything that he can to break the winning streak of Warrior. Warrior is trying to make it 4 in a row.
As gap between Hefty and Snipper has stayed pretty stagnant, as Hefty just sets his personal best lap of the race, running on lighter fuel.
Go on.
It's interesting to see the two different strategies played here. Warrior and Dale pitted as early as they could while still making their pit window. Meanwhile, Hefty and Snipper are going as far into their pit window as they can, and then doing as Cone is into the pits, our LMP2 leader, Dale and Warrior are guesstimating how far they can go on a full tank. Meanwhile, Hefty and Snipper will guess how much fuel they need to make it to the end on a partial tank. Each strategy has its pros and cons. Biggest pro for the strategy that the Ferrari and 63 Corvette are using at the front of the field currently is they run the car lighter longer. Instead of refilling the car partway through the tank, they're draining it as light as they can go to let them run theoretically faster laps. As Warrior looks up at the inside of turn 5, not able to get it done. Possible contact on the exit there. Up side by side into turn 6 Corvette corner.
Warrior is down the inside and he gets the move done. Warrior gets the move done as he goes into P1 in GTD.
Theoretical P1. Hefty and Snipper have still yet to pit, as they both have approximately 20 liters, but they will, they will have to pit, and that will give Warrior the lead. This is eventually going to be the battle for the win, as Dale has some lag. Meanwhile, LMP2 leader has left pit lane, while Intersport is coming onto the front straight. So interestingly, Intersport almost lost a lap when he pitted. However, he has been able to gain time on his competitor for the LMP2 win. Meanwhile,
Warrior
LMP1,
Warrior was asking on when was Dale the Whale going to take his drive through, and seeing, because as we are seeing, Dale the Whale is definitely having some lag issues, so we're going to give him the benefit of the doubt to maybe there was a V sync from what I saw on my own stream compared to his. So as long as Dale provides that clip in and shows us, we are going to let this race follow suit as it goes.
I suppose we should have clarified that before the race, just to make sure, but again, the driver taking initiative to make sure that he can protest a penalty that he does not feel is just.
I will say Damage went off-roading there for the brief second that I was in on him. He went a little bit off-roading and almost completely nailed the wall.
Meanwhile, Snipper has lost time on Hefty, as that gap is almost up to 10 seconds, I would say, as Intersport is in between them, so wonder if anything happened there, as Warrior able to pull a little bit of a gap out on Dale, as Dale runs wide coming out of turn 8 into turn 9 for the excuse me, Henry.
I gotta say though, can we just give a lot of props to Hefty Bag, who has shown tremendous.
Ooh.
Dale Oil goes off track, but I gotta give a lot of props to Hefty Bag, who has come in. He came in very late to the year, didn't get as much practice in compared to all the other drivers in this series, and he has really come into his own in these cars, and he has taken that Ferrari head on, and he's done a great job and has shown tremendous pace in that car.
Indeed. Him and Stallard both were not thrilled on having the Ferrari. Stallard's still struggling with it a bit as damage comes into the pits. Well on the pit speed limiter beforehand. Back to Hefty and Stallard. Hefty and Stallard were not thrilled about having the Ferrari. However, Hefty has been able to grow with that car, getting more and more competitive each round. It seems like the Ferrari prefers the sprint format over the endurance format, which is interesting. Not great for the championship hopes, considering the endurance format offers more points per race.
So while there is a little bit of a lull in the action, we will go on and advertise the upcoming UDL events. Next Friday and Saturday, it is the UDL Indy 500 qualifying, the pole day sessions where drivers from WEC and F1 will go head on and battle for their spots into the Indy 500 race. Then after the pole day session, it is bump day, as the drivers who are bumped will try to make their way back into the field, and they will get one shot. That Sunday on the 17th, the F1 series goes to Singapore under the lights. And then the weekend after that, on the 24th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, it is the Indy 500 with 200 laps, with the winner of the race getting $100. And then the week after that, WEC returns in the Endurance Series as they will drive at the famous Nürburgring. So that is our UDL events coming up. This is a very, very busy month of May for the league. We are now under the half an hour mark, under 30 minutes to go, folks, in this race.
Meanwhile, the two Porsches should be pitting this lap, as they are both under 3 liters of fuel, coming up towards, again, past the past the 55-minute mark, and Texas stays out.
He is going to stretch it. I believe he thinks that he can make another lap with 2.6 liters of fuel left in the car.
Meanwhile, Spidey passing the LMP2 leader once again, as that gap has...
It looks like that
actually
gap
closed
has
a little
been
bit
in by Intersport. Intersport has closed in on that gap. So that will definitely be something to watch. Oh, and Intersport spins! We were just talking about how that gap was just shortened, and Intersport has a spin. Very unfortunate there for Intersport, who it looked like he was just building into that gap, and he loses control of the car going into the penultimate corner. How unfortunate there for Intersport.
It looks like he's closer than he was at one point earlier in the race, but definitely not how he wanted to try to gain time on his competitors. Meanwhile, Dan, who had a long pit stop for damage, is coming down into Canada corner while Spidey is still sitting in the pits. And John has lost it coming out of turn 1, almost collects a Ferrari of... that would be Hefty Bag. So almost took out your current GTE leader. Meanwhile, Spidey is underway.
A little bit. He holds up his teammate just a little bit too, as they are teammates for STI.
Yes.
Texas is, oh man, he's getting close. He's on 0.5 liters of fuel. Let's watch his pit speed.
And he's down.
He learned his lesson from the last race, as that last race he did have a drive-through. Can he make it? It all depends on where his stall is. Is he going to be able to make it? Yes, he will.
Yes, he will. Definitely cutting it close there. I'm not sure why he would do that, considering the lead he has over his teammate. Speaking of his teammate, who runs wide in Turn 5 on cold tires, it looks like, which they shouldn't be after pitting, although the track temp is back up to 123 degrees. So tire wear could definitely be a factor here. You can see Daniel in the back shot of, when the camera is focused on Spidey, you can see Daniel in the background. So the battle for second in LMP1 is by no means over. Meanwhile, I hate to see it, but the Audis are pretty much locked into 4th and 5th at this moment, unless if there's a serious problem. 4 cars ahead. Hefty is down to 4 liters. Meanwhile, Snipper is down to 14. So we will prepare for the final GTE cars to pit, as Hefty is coming in now. Let's see if he can get it stopped in time. Goes deep on the brakes. Still gets it stopped in plenty of time.
And he does. Good job from all of the drivers today on not wanting to get that hunting drive.
Getting later into the night now. It won't be long until the sun sets. You can already see the track has dropped 4 degrees Fahrenheit. The ambient temperature has dropped 20 degrees Fahrenheit since the beginning of this event, as it was almost 100 degrees when we started.
Good old Wisconsin, folks.
Closing in on 25 minutes remaining. Spidey and Dan are now only about, I would call it, 4 seconds, maybe 5. It's could be the 7 that the game says, although I reckon that's a little high. Although Spidey is coming up on some lap traffic, so that will definitely close, as that is the lap traffic of John, who is damaged. So John having another mistake. Not the performance that they wanted. Definitely looking like they had the pace. John just starting the race on the wrong foot, forgetting to fill the car with fuel, as headlights now starting to become a little bit of a factor for visibility. As once again, we are going into the night for accelerated day-night cycle. Dan is already past the damaged John.
It just has not been John's day at all. It seems like one mistake after another for Jonathan in this race.
Meanwhile, Damage passes Dale on the outside of the carousel. Gets ready to pass Warrior on the outside. The GTE cars like to push out wide. The car just likes to float out to the exit. Warrior keeps it tight for Damage, however, and will keep it clean. Snipper down to 10 liters of fuel remaining. He will definitely drop behind Dale and Warrior, who Dale once again flashing the lights, trying to distract Warrior. So it will not be long before we see Snipper pit. We will have updated drivers, manufacturers, and interclass team points for you at the next race in 3 weeks at Nürburgring. So start to see how those sub-championships are forming. We will also have sprint and endurance points for that too. We have 4 different sub-championships: a GTE Manufacturers Cup, an Interclass Team Cup, a Sprint Championship, an Endurance Championship, and of course the Grand Championship in each class. John has made it back to pit lane, as he has dropped back to 5th in class, now on the same lap as the LMP2 leader, as Cone unlaps himself. Intersport is definitely catching on Cone. Cone not liking these later night conditions. I don't know if it's going to be enough though, folks. That'll definitely be another thing we have to keep an eye on.
Oh, that Intersport cannot afford to have another spin at all, but it definitely appears that Intersport is starting to close in on that gap. So this is where the tire temps are really going to start to take effect into this race.
Meanwhile, Dan has seemed to gain about 1 or 2 seconds on Spidey, so the battle for LMP2 and the battle for second place in LMP1 is not over yet, as Dale is still right with Warrior. Meanwhile, Dale's teammate Snipper comes out of the final corner, will do 1, maybe 2 more laps on this tank of fuel as he crosses the line with 7.5 liters of gas left. Definitely will not be able to make it to the end.
Daniel starting to pull in on Spidey, though. He's now down to under 4 seconds. So Daniel, as you can see there on Spidey's screen, Daniel is now starting to crawl back into his way. Daniel's going to try everything he can to take away a fourth 1-2 in the LMP1 race. And right now, it looks like Spidey has caught up to the Ford of Koala, as he doesn't have any problem with Koala there. He gets past him pretty clean.
Meanwhile, all 3 classes juking for position on the front straight. That was the lap down, 2 lap down, actually, I believe. Audi of John, as yes, he is 2 laps down to the overall leader, putting a lap on Cone, who was also putting a lap on Stallard. So all 3 classes still mixing it together here. As we are within the final 20 minutes.
We are now under 20 minutes to go, as right now Dale is still trying to do anything he can to hang on. So pretty much what has happened in this race, Daniel got off to a great start, was able to pass Tax's time as Tax's time got loose, and gave the lead to Daniel there. John, who started in P4, did not put enough fuel into the car.
Snipper pits. So your GTE leader is in the pit lane, gets it slowed down in plenty of time, and will relinquish his lead over to Warrior, and second place over to his teammate Dale the Whale. So Corvette looking to gain, as Dale still flashing the lights at Warrior, trying to distract him, especially now since it's starting to become into the dusk into night time towards the end of this race.
I don't think Warrior is falling for it at all. I think Warrior knows, like, unless he sees like a big car come from behind him, he already knows. Dale has already shown his hand multiple times doing it.
Meanwhile, where's Hefty? Hefty's coming out of the last corner. Snipper is moving, and the Corvette team is on the far end of pit lane, so he doesn't have far to go until the pit sequence. We'll go on board with Hefty to see where he comes out in relative to Snipper.
I think he's going to pass him.
He's passed him. He is past Snipper.
Is through, as he is now sitting in P3 in the GTE race. Great drive from Beg so far, but to kind of go back over what has gone on.
Dale spun.
Dale has spun it.
Dale either went off or spun in turn 1 or 2, or 1 or 3, as he is now over, I would say, 10 seconds behind Warrior. So that has officially put a little bit of a kaput on the GTE battle. Meanwhile, Spidey and Dan are neck and neck now that Spidey is working his way through traffic through turn 5.
Oh, this has given Daniel a great opportunity to catch down the course of Spidey here. We all remember of how their battle went in the last sprint race, as both of them go off the track. They both had a very fantastic side-by-side battle, and he gets past.
Daniel's through.
He gets through.
Using the Ferrari of, I think that was Hefty. Yes, it was Hefty. As a pick, yeah, Snipper and Hefty still battling it out. Oh my gosh, it's Spidey.
Spidey
uses the draft of Intersport to get a run down to Canada Corner.
Side by side into the corner. Spidey gets the move on Daniel and takes back P2. Spidey, wow. Daniel got a huge break there, but Spidey, I think, has unloaded on that high.
And hey, Pecan, look at the gap between Cone and Intersport. This battle's coming right up on Cone right now. They've already passed Intersport. If Cone loses a bunch of time here through turn 3, he might lose a little bit of time if he lets these cars through the inside. Looks like he'll be able to get through turn 3 and they'll pass him on the straight, which is exactly what Cone needs. Nice unaffected run down into turn 5. But they're coming up on 3 more GTE cars.
Ooh, and it looks like Daniel is going to have the speed here. He's side by side. He's going to have to go to the outside, but he clears him into the corner as Daniel
using the draft of the LMP2 car.
Ooh, and Spidey gets a little bit loose coming out of the corner. Intersport needed them. I think he needed more from the LMP1 guys for him to have a chance there. But Intersport is still crawling back. I think Intersport may have the better temps, really, going to the end of this race.
Daniel definitely going towards the edge of track limits there for the outside move around Dale, as Warrior's not even in Dale's sights anymore.
Warrior has pulled away tremendously. It looks like Warrior, unless he makes a costly mistake, Warrior might be in control of this race.
Meanwhile, Cone's getting held up by Dale. Not able to get him past, and the King has to sit behind. Finally gets the pass done in Canada Corner.
Folks, this is what we have been wanting. We have been wanting a great LMP2 battle for the longest time, as it always seems like whoever wins the race, number 1 and 2 are just so far from behind. But Spidey is starting to close in on Daniel here down the hill.
And you can definitely see, as we hop in the cockpit of Intersport, Intersport smells blood in the water. He has visual on Cone, target acquired. He only has about 2.5 more seconds to run him down. And meanwhile, Spidey just struggling to keep up in the draft, needs to stay in that draft in order to keep up with Daniel on the straights. However, Daniel is on the older tires. You would think he would, that Spidey would have the advantage through the corners. However, that draft may be washing him out through the corners here, giving him that dirty air.
Gotta say, for Intersport, after having a very costly spin out like at least 10 laps ago, he has crawled right back into this race. Let's not forget, folks, Intersport has had barely any time in this car. He just got back yesterday, and now he is closing in on his Penske teammate and right now LMP2 rival of Cone God.
Yeah, right now, folks, this is the only battle on the track other than Spidey and Dan. We will keep an eye on that battle for you. But right now, this LMP2 battle is where it is at. Intersport seems to have the faster car, definitely has lighter fuel, almost 11 liters less worth of fuel. As a good job by, I believe that's Koala there. It could be Warrior.
No, it's Warrior.
It is Warrior.
Yeah.
Good job by him staying out of the way. He's got, knock on wood, but should anything unfortunate happen to Warrior, he seems to have pretty tight control on that lead, as Warrior's still going for a
domination.
Going
to take a defensive move down the up the hill. I'm sorry to interrupt there, but Cone Dodger trying to break the draft. Intersport has a huge, oh my god.
Intersport topping out and coming close to topping out at 176 miles an hour at the end of this front straight. You can see Cone able to pull away a little bit in turn 1. Both, I wonder if Intersport has his car a little bit more trimmed out than Cone does. Cone, and it could be a factor of the draft too, but Intersport definitely has a lens.
He has way less fuel in the car too. He is carrying 10 liters less, so his car is way more lighter than that of Cone. So I also think that has to have a huge effect going down on the big straightaway here at Road America. And Intersport almost gets loose there. It looks like as Cone is getting loose too.
Cone lost it.
He lost as he goes into the wall. Intersport has taken the lead of the LMP2 class. As Cone Dodger went off the track, he's now gone back onto the track as he has given the lead to Intersport. Intersport takes the lead in LMP2.
Goes wide in turn 8. Wonder if he got damage from that. Crazy idea. I wonder if Cone took tires. I would assume everyone on a one-stat strategy took tires. However, Cone might not have. Considering Intersport gained time on the pit sequence, I would have to imagine he did. But you never know. Meanwhile, in GTE, Dale has closed a little bit back up towards Warrior. Not enough, though, with 10 minutes remaining. He would have to gain almost 2 or 3 seconds a lap, as Hefty and Snipper are also about the same distance as Warrior and Dale. Koala, meanwhile, is about a sector behind Snipper and Stollard, finishing out this race, thankfully, but sadly a lap down. Up front in LMP1, it is still Texas with a dominant lead over his biggest competitor in the championship, Dan. It's almost, in fact, it's more than a full sector as Texas comes up across the line. Dan is just now leaving the carousel.
He did get a huge break there of when Daniel spun out. And
yes.
That had a huge effect on giving Texas time the big lead advantage into this race, as Daniel was in the lead for quite a while in this race.
Daniel does have the fastest lap of the race in LMP1. There are not points given out for the fastest lap. It's just bragging rights, but just shows that Daniel has the speed, just needed the consistency. That spin really hurt his chance at an overall victory here, as is that Warrior that went off. That was Koala. My bad, folks. Hard to tell the identical livery cars apart, especially when looking at timing and scoring. Very close. Indeed. Interestingly, in LMP1 and LMP2, the fastest lap is within 0.2 of each other. In GTE, it's within 1/10. It's actually almost within 0.5 between Dale and Warrior. Dale does have the fastest lap, but again, seems to be a little bit too far behind Warrior, although he almost has visual on Warrior, but
I think Intersport has turned the car down a little bit as well, as Intersport was 2 seconds slower on that lap.
Which is smart to do. He's only racing one car.
Really big lead. He still has a nice, good lead on Cone.
Interestingly enough, he is going full throttle and he's not short shifting. See if he rolls out of the throttle early here. He does not, so he's not really worried about fuel. He will be cutting it close. Should be fine though, as Texas will lap him one more time before the end. So I would imagine, I would say 5 laps to go. I would think. Maybe 4, depending on where Texas hits the line. So as far as fuel, Texas also running a little bit low, to be honest. Has the same amount of fuel as Dan. Wait, Spidey's back past Dan.
Yeah, that happened a while ago. Oh, wait, Spidey, wait, yeah, no.
Yeah,
Dan,
Spidey is ahead of Dan, not the other way around.
Dan. Wow.
As Dan runs wide in turn 1, almost clips the wall. Jeez, criminy. Dan is pushing hard to get back past Spidey. Sorry, folks, that we missed that.
I wonder where he spun out. It didn't. I couldn't see it on the timing screen. But Daniel is now behind Spidey. And Spidey is now in P2 for the LMP1 class.
John is missing a left front headlight. I can't help. Well, surely I would think that John would not affect the battle for second.
John hits the wall there, going down that corner. John has had a horrible race. I don't think there's any other words that I can put it for John.
Indeed.
Porsche 1-2, it looks like, folks, unless Spidey does something tremendously wrong, and I think that was Ferrari that went off the track there.
It'll be close to see. I believe that's Stollard. No, that's... Yeah, that's Stollard. It'll be close to see whether or not Dan can catch back up. I don't think he'll be able to get back past Spidey unless if lap traffic plays a factor, which it very much could.
Oh, and Daniel spins and he hits the wall. Daniel spins as he came up on the back end of Stallard and he hits the wall. This race has fallen apart for Daniel tremendously. He has huge damage on that car, as he is going to have to come into pit. I don't know if damage is going to be able to make up the enough.
I don't believe so.
I don't believe so. It all depends on
damage is just now coming on to turn 4 on the middle straight. Even if he was on the same lap as Daniel, I don't think it would be a factor. But Texas, I believe, is a lap down. So we'll look at timings here and see.
Cone Dodger's starting to pull in.
Yeah, damage is a lap down.
Cone Dodger's starting to pull in a little bit on Intersport. They were up to at least 7 seconds. That lead has now gone down to 4. So this is definitely something going to be watched here until the end. If Cone Dodger can possibly make this race even more interesting. Daniel does get his parts fixed. As he comes out, he is still very well into third, but this race has turned upside down for him.
Wow. In a little bit of a salt in the wound moment, he comes out exactly a lap down behind the leader. So,
you know, that just has to break his heart tremendously.
Yeah, Daniel will be asking himself, what if, for the next couple of days, as I don't believe... In fact, the next couple of weeks, as I don't believe he's running the Indy 500. He'll definitely be looking for a chance to redeem himself at Nürburgring. Interestingly enough, Intersport is down to 8.5 liters. Texas is going through the carousel now, which would mean 2 laps remaining this time by. Intersport going through the carousel currently. Intersport's going to be close on fuel, folks. I guarantee you that's why Cone has been able to reel him back in.
He has gone totally into fuel conversation mode.
Looking where Texas is. His fastest lap is a 45... 44.7. So even at that rate, yeah, it's 2 laps to go for sure. And Intersport is not going to get lapped again, as he was just lapped this lap. So Intersport has 2 laps to go with 3 liters a lap. That's a tall order for LMP2 cars.
Cone Dodger's starting to pull him in. Cone's pulling him in a little bit.
I think this is Cone's race. I think Intersport short-fueled, pitted a little. I mean, he pitted as late as he could, but just not able to save enough fuel throughout both of his stints I think this is Cone's race.
They also have a GTE car coming up too. This is gonna play. Oh no, and I think that is Warrior. That is. No, that's Koala letting him by.
Which Warrior goes off to let one of the Audis by, and John has lost. That's not John. That is Damage. Who was that?
I can't tell.
Spidey's off. Spidey went off, and I think the kink. He's lost the entire front nose to his car. He will stay out, though, and try to stay ahead of Dan, who is only currently in the carousel. So Dan is, I believe, Dan is
so Dan and
behind.
Warrior, I mean, no, Spidey and Warrior had a crash.
Quite possibly. I'm not sure if Warrior going off was a reaction or a causation. I'm not sure if, okay, let me put it this way, I'm not sure if it was causation or correlation. Correlation does not cause causation. Meanwhile,
I have to interrupt you because this is the white flag. The white flag is now out for this race on Texas time. But we're going to go back for the battle of the lead. As soon as we see, I'm going to watch the map here to see where Texas time is at. But right now,
I hate to break it to you folks. Intersport is not going to have enough fuel this lap alone. He has used 3.4 liters of fuel. He only has 2.6 left. He will not be able to win this race.
Oh my gosh, this is getting dicey. He's going into turn one. He doesn't make a mistake. Oh my gosh, he has to put that fuel. He has to put that car into lean if he doesn't want to run out of any fuel.
Unless he can't make it. He can't make it. He's under 2 liters coming onto the middle straight out of turn 3. Unless if there's a desync in the fuel, I don't see how he can make it. I hope he realizes he's low on fuel. He might not. I've run afoul of that. I did not realize I was low on fuel until 2 minutes remaining in a separate off-championship endurance race. Meanwhile, Texas is coming down into Canada corner. Spidey has crossed the line to take a white flag. That locks Spidey into second place. Texas coming around the penultimate corner.
Texas is coming around the final corner now, folks. He is the #1 driver for Porsche. He is the #1 car. He is the #1 driver today and #1 in your hearts as Texas time wins.
Meanwhile, LMP2, Jeff is out of fuel at the kink. He's out of fuel at the kink.
Intersport has run out of fuel. He has run out of fuel.
Yeah, Cone's going to do the gentleman thing and push him back. I assume Cone will take the win, but Cone will be pushing him back as you see the friendship, even though they're rivals on the track. Hang on, Warrior is behind Dale. We've had a change for the GTE lead in the last 2 laps of the race.
Warrior probably took a lot of damage there. Warrior probably took so much damage that it affected him, and now Dale has gone past Warrior.
Meanwhile, Cone can't push. Cone can't push Intersport. They're struggling to get the car off the track. Meanwhile, the battle is still on in GTE. They're coming up to that incident in Canada corner. Meanwhile, Spidey taking home second in LMP1, Dan third, Damage fourth, John fifth. Unless if Cone takes the checkered flag, the win will be given to Intersport. If they both DNF, Intersport cross the white flag first. In GTE,
here we go, boys. Here we go. We're coming down to the final corners. Can Dale the Whale break the winning streak of Warrior? Can
Dale
he break the
gets too much curb on the corner entrance. Not the best run through there. Warrior has too much damage to get it.
I don't think he had it. Today, Dale the Whale is now Dale the winner of GTE and ends the winning streak of Warrior as it stands right now. I don't know what's going on screen with Cone and Intersport, but I think Cone is now trying to finish the race.
They've got 30 seconds to get across the line.
Strobe lights, folks. We are now currently
if they both DNF, it will be Intersport that takes the win, I would assume, as he crossed the line for the white flag first. It'll be close whether they DNF or not. And Cone does come across to take the checkered flag, and Intersport technically DNFs. I believe he will take the win.
Wow.
Not
what
win,
a
take
finish.
second. He does cross the line.
What a finish there at the end. So Texas Time wins LMP1. Cone Dodger takes the win in LMP2. And as it stands right now, folks, we are going to still await Dale's pit. But as it stands right now, Dale the Whale is your winner in the GTE class, with Warrior in second as he breaks the winning streak. What a finish. So I have to ask you, Dylan, your thoughts on that race. Wow.
That was intense, start to finish. World Endurance Championship. Only 15 cars started this race, but there was action start to finish for this one. Road America always puts on a show. I mean, one of the most iconic races was between Muscle Milk Honda and the Dyson Mazda up the start-finish straight. Similar racing here between Dale and Warrior, although not side by side. Absolutely phenomenal racing. I mean, I can't wait for Germany. Stay tuned, folks, to see if Dale keeps his win or not.
I agree, folks, and we are going to cut the stream, but we will let you guys know in the Nürburgring race on what did happen there at the finish of the GTE race. Do not forget, folks, next Friday and Saturday, Indy 500 qualifying. Next Sunday, it is the UDL F1 Singapore GP. On the 24th, it is the Indy 500, and on the 31st, the WEC Endurance Series will return at the Nürburgring. Folks, I am Pecan36 with my guest Dylan 4243. This has been a great race to watch, and we thank you guys for watching. Tune in next week.